lot of folks think that sugar becomes sugar in the body and fat becomes fat in the body and protein becomes protein. Not true. Think about cows. They don't eat meat, but they got meat on them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you take whatever chemicals you put in your body, your liver takes them and reprocesses them and shares them and distributes them as they're required.
Right.
So if you eat sugar, your brain says, hey, you know, you got calories, but you didn't get any nutrition. And without nutrition, the brain's going to want more food coming in. So sugar automatically gets you to eat more because you're not getting the nutrients that you need. When the liver sees the extra sugar and you don't need it because you're not running around, it says, you know what, we're going to store this. What's the best way to store calories? Fat. So it'll create fat, not just around your waist and in your thighs, but it'll create fat in your liver. And when your liver gets poisoned with that fat, it literally turns the foie gras, the fat, it'll start making toxic chemicals that go out and influence your body, and it'll make more of that lousy LDL cholesterol. And in addition, that belly fat, it's called the omentum fat. That's why we always look at your waist size, right? And guys, for the guys out there, men never buy new belts. They just put the belt down like this.
Down low.
Right?
We've seen it.
The Texas belt. So actually measure at the belly button, around the hips, and that size should be less than half your height. If you've got too much omentum belly fat, what it means is that you've got a toxic organ that's come alive, and it does a bunch of things. It blocks the kidneys from working, and without your kidneys, you're going to have high blood pressure because the kidneys regulate your blood pressure. Number two, it's going to make more of that lousy LDL cholesterol, but less of the good, healthy HDL cholesterol that's out there patching up the different holes that you have in your arteries. And thirdly, it's going to block insulin, and that's a big issue because when you block insulin, you get diabetes. Now, there's one additional thing I want to mention because we've got an epidemic of it in America. We're not having sex anymore. And when you have too much of that belly fat, you take the testosterone that your testicles make and you convert it to estrogen.
So the fellows out there.
Right, so you can feel your testicles. Your testicles should be about 2 finger breadths by 3 finger breadths in size. You can actually feel them. If they're normal size and you don't have libido, I bet you got belly fat. And the belly fat's taking all that good testosterone that makes you want to do it and converting it to estrogen. It feminizes you. That's why you get man boobs. Right? And so that belly fat also affects libido, which affects your relationships.
And for women, how does it impact women's?
Well, when the women have belly fat, this endocrine organ comes alive and starts making more of the estrogen, as it does in men. But in women, you have organs that are receptive to estrogen, like the breast, like the uterus, like the ovaries. And when they get too much of this basting in a hormone that's estrogen, they begin to overgrow and they get cancer. That's why these organs are so much more prone to getting cancer in women who are overweight. Let me just take one step back first, though. Here's the big issue for me. Why is it that we crave sugar and that we're making so much of it? Well, when you're a little...
I mean, as a culture,
making
so much sugar, and it's in everything.
And why do we all want that?
And why is it so hidden right now? Is it hidden? I mean, do people know about sugar? I feel they don't.
No, of course not. It's all hidden in our soft drinks. It's the #1 thing we eat. We don't even know we're getting it. All the white foods have sugar. White flour, white pasta, white rice. You know, all the soft drinks have high fructose corn syrup in them, which is potentially an additional problem because you can't even tell you're getting sugar. Your brain can't quite understand it all the time. So these are big issues for us. But the big problem for me is that we have infantilized our taste buds. Little kids are not supposed to want to eat vegetables and fruits because they have a lot of extra taste buds. So they only are going to eat the safest foods because 1,000 years ago, kids couldn't afford to get poisoned because they were having some dangerous berry off a bush. So what they do is they will take very simple foods, like simple sugar foods that you get in a fast food restaurant, and they will naturally crave them. But over time, they're supposed to mature their taste bud. By the time they're our age, they're supposed to want to eat the fruits and vegetables and leafy greens and all that good stuff. But if you've only grown up eating French fries and hamburgers and soft drinks, you're going to want that food your whole life. So all you want at 35 is a pizza and a beer. So we now have a very simple taste bud culture, and that's why we're willing to tolerate it. In addition, we subsidize sugar. We make it much cheaper to grow than it should be. And so by doing that, we make it easy for folks to eat as much sugar and junk as you want. We produce in this country, per person, 3,500 calories of food every day. That means you've got extra supply. They got to get us to demand it. So we are being sort of induced, partly because we don't have the self-reliance to push back, but partly because we're getting marketed to. We're going to want to eat a lot of this food because it's out there to be sold. And so if we eat 3,500 calories a day of food, we're going to really balloon up like a Thanksgiving Day float.
And we are, right?
And we are.
It's around the belly, and all the dangers of belly fat are
happening in kids. Can you imagine when we were little kids, when not being able to run around as we did and eating a lot of the foods that today's available and readily marketed to kids? Without question, they're starting to develop problems we never heard of. They're developing high cholesterol. We had a big scare last month. I say scare because there was a big PR blast about the fact that kids now maybe are supposed to be taking statin drugs. I mean, come on. And then you're putting on fat so that you can becoming a diabetic. I'm operating on 25-year-olds. I didn't go in this business to operate on people younger than me.
Right.
Even though one day I thought it might happen.
Yeah.
And then also we're getting a lot of hypertension, and that's the #1 killer of all. Because if I look at this wall as the lining of your artery, see how it's nice and thin and smooth? I want to punch a hole in there.
Yeah.
I got to fix that hole. How do I fix it? I put plaster in there, right? If it's in a hole up here. Well, the plaster in the body is called cholesterol. If I use healthy, high-quality cholesterol, I get a nice, smooth repair. If I use lousy quality cholesterol, it's cheap spackling, it crumbles out of there. And when that happens, you got to fix it. Well, what's the body's repair mechanism? It's going to be whatever you're eating.
Right.
So if you've got a lot of that bad cholesterol from the sugar, you're going to make a very poor repair. But take a step back. What made the hole? What made the hole is high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Right? It's the high blood pressure, cigarettes. It's the stuff that we know is dangerous to that nice, smooth Teflon lining. And if you're feeding your stuff toxic food, like simple sugar all the time, you're going to end up with cheap spackling in there. And that is the epidemic that we're facing.
It's
by the
heart
way,
disease, right?
it is. And right now in Washington, we got people out there trying to change healthcare. I can guarantee you, we're not fixing healthcare in Washington or in Sacramento or in Albany. We're going to fix healthcare in our communities, in our families. It happens when it resonates with you and you go out and tell someone who you care for what you just learned. So these key messages, the messages about the white foods, about the importance of the belly being less than half the circumference than your height, about the importance of a mental fat causing high blood pressure and high cholesterol and diabetes and impotence and loss of libido. All these are messages that need to be dispersed out there. You're the Army.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing with us. That's
Thanks for joining me.
fantastic. That's awesome.
It's good to have you in New York.
My brother.